Hey, this is Abla speaking, doing a One Piece chapter opinion piece for the chapter 1054, and we're finally out of the break, and we're finally back in action, I guess. And we have a color spread, and we have the four Yonkos. I guess a more detailed one. Yeah, definitely way more detailed. It looks like Oda really. Yeah, you can see like the shading and all that stuff. Oda really went to town with this. I guess he's had breaks. And there's going to be three parts to this chapter. One is going to be Ryukuji's ideology and sense of justice. The other is going to be Shanks. And the last part is going to be pretty much the revolutionaries, or Sabo, aka Sabo. There's also another part, and it's Momonosuke, but that's mixed in between the Ryukuji stuff. And let's start off with Ryukuji. And Ryukuji's, well, the way I'm interpreting his sense of justice is like, how do I make an example? His sense of justice is like, say there's bad laws and all that stuff, but they're the laws. They're not really helpful, all that stuff. And he's the type of guy who's like, well, that's the laws and you just gotta respect them. Even though they're bad and they're not good, it's just like, even though there could be unfair laws and all that stuff, he'd just be the one who just follow them through and through, regardless if they're not very fair laws. So like, how would I put it? It would be like selective, because he pretty much says like the Rubitos are the gods of the world, the Celestial are the dragons, are gods of the world, and here in this country, on the world unaffiliated with the government, you have no human rights. He's pretty much, since you're not with the gods, anyone who's not affiliated with the gods pretty much can't even be considered a human to him. And I'm pondering if this is Oda really gonna do this? This, in a way, doesn't make this. Because I'm thinking, how do you redeem a character like this with this type of sense of justice? Because, well, when the Tenryubitos, the Celestial Dragons, fall, I could be looking at his ideology changing. Because does he really think they're gods? Like, because I don't even think Akainu thinks they're gods. Even Kizaru, I think once, like a long time ago in a chapter, Kizaru even complained about them. He's like, do we really have to go and like stand up for these guys? I think. And we get and apparently he's a Logia type, nature Logia type. So that's interesting. He's returning back to the Logia, and he's fighting against wounded scabbards, which is not looking good in my opinion, in terms of his strength. So wounded scabbards, we have Denjiro, Kamatsu, Nekomamushi, Inorishiki, Raizo, and Shinobu. And they seem to be doing okay, because he's not one-shotting these dudes. Because we see his roots getting bit cut and everything, and he turns into like just giant broccoli. Mob Psycho references here. And we see Yamato come in with a powerful hockey club, and he does complain. That's some hockey you have here. And that's, I'm not gonna lie. I think Yamato is very powerful. She's exceptionally powerful. But this still does not look good for Ryukuji here. Or Greenbow. I'm gonna call it. It's Ryukuji? Ryukuji? Is it Ryukuji? I forgot, whatever. Greenbow. It's not looking good in terms of power scaling, but I guess Oda never really likes power scaling. And then we see another fight here that's just very interesting. We see Momonosuke show up, and Momonosuke, I think Ryukuji is going to be a test for Momonosuke. And the test is, can Momonosuke defend his country, by himself against someone as powerful as Ryukuji? The technical answer, it should be no. He shouldn't be capable of not even scratching him. He does a blast breath, but nothing comes out, just like puff. And Ryukuji is like mad confused because of this. This is pretty hilarious. He's like, what? He was like, he got seriously confused because of that. And he seems to be hinting about Momonosuke's powers. Like, he's never heard of his powers, so this could come to play. And we also get to see the also precious side action of Yamato. The also so beautiful side action. And I guess Momonosuke wants to take this fight on himself. He wants to prove to everyone that he can defend Wano country. Because he tells Yamato to no, Yamato, you must not fight. So because I guess he understands that Yamato is going to be part of the crew. Yamato is part of, so she's joining the crew, she's leaving. So that means Yamato understands that once they leave, it's all up to them. It's up to Momonosuke and the Scabbards to defend their country from invaders. So this is going to be a major test for Yamato. And I don't see how he's going to win, because honestly, there should be a huge power difference in between them. But I also see kind of Luffy rolling up. But in my opinions, it doesn't look good for, in terms of power scaling, it doesn't really look good for a Green Bull. But in terms of Yamato, Momonosuke's character development, it looks like Oda's not, he hasn't stopped yet. This is going to be a major character moment for Momonosuke. So I'm looking forward to that in this fight. Not for a victor, because I don't think Oda's going to have Ryokuji lose a newly introduced Yonko. And then we get to the Shanks part. Now the Shanks part is very interesting. The Shanks part is pretty much his whole crew, most of his crew saying, we want to see Luffy. We want to meet Luffy. Yasop is nervous. He's like, what? And this other guy, the one with the glasses and has the bandana just like Zoro, I forgot his name, is talking about Kid. Like, didn't he pick a fight? I think he's the one who soloed Kid's crew. Maybe, potentially. And we see Luffy, Shanks. He has a beard. He looks a little older. We see him smiling and looking at Luffy's poster. And he's reminiscing about the past, how he entered the ship. And it's pretty much made very ambiguous that Shanks knew there was a special fruit there. And we see Who's Who, a young Who's Who. And this is very interesting. So it turns out Who's Who is part of the Oni clan too, because he has horns. So Who's Who he's an Oni. He's the same race as Yamato, which Oda is still keeping mass secrets about. But yeah, he's the same race as Kaido, which is very interesting here. And we see him, he's having flashbacks, Luffy, when he sacrificed his arm. And the other crew members are like shocked. I guess those are the newly joined crews. They're shocked that Luffy is part of that he even knows Luffy in the first place. And Shanks states like, we're not seeing Luffy. So what does this mean? He's not gonna touch down and see Luffy. And everyone's like, what not? Why not? And apparently Shanks is using Bartholomeo's actions of he did burn his flag, so it's kind of. But I guess Bartholomew doesn't know about Luffy and Shanks' connection, because that goes way into his past. Because Bartholomew was when the execution happened for Luffy with Buggy, so that's where he like became his fan of Luffy. So he doesn't know about Luffy's connection with Shanks, I would presume. Otherwise, he would have never done that. So Shanks is using Bartholomew as an excuse to ditch Luffy and to go attend to this. Then he goes out and he pulls up to his first mate who's just reading the newspaper. And he tells him words that are very intriguing nonetheless. He drinks a cup of sake and he says, "Say, Beck, I think it's time we make our move. Let's claim the One Piece." So now, and I guess maybe Shanks has been waiting this whole time, giving Luffy the chance to get to this level so he could compete against him to get to the One Piece. And Ben Beckman is just looking at him like, like, what's going on with this dude? So this is very interesting. Now it's left ambiguous if Shanks is actually gonna touch down and like forward a complaint to Luffy, like Bartholomew burned my flag, like we're gonna fight or something like that. So this is very interesting here. So I'm looking forward to Shanks. I'm hoping he does touch down, because that would kind of resolve the whole Ryokuji. At this point, Ryokuji would have, being Shanks there and all the supernovas and all that stuff, he would have no option but to retreat. But then it would be a cop out for Momonosuke, so that might not happen. And then we move up potentially to my least interesting part of the chapter, and that's the revolutionaries. And it turns out that it was like everyone predicted. Cobra's the one that died, and Sabo's the one being blamed. So that's interesting, I guess, in a way. And he was assassinated. And it's also stated that Vivi is missing. So she is MIA. And we also find out about the battle, and apparently, well, the intelligence guy here, the intelligence director of naval of investigation, Kuruma Tensei, and he looks like some sort of actor. So Kuruma Tensei, so he's like an intelligence investigation officer, and he's relaying the fight. And it turns out that Sabo actually succeeded in his goal. Not only did he burn the flag, declaring war, just like Luffy did when he did to Enies Lobby, they actually succeeding in retrieving Bartholomew Kuma. Kuma should be a brain dead robot, so I don't see how any of that's changing. And I'm pretty sure Bonnie helped him in one way or shape or form. And I'm pretty sure there's two options with Vivi. Either she's with Sabo, or Imo has captured her. Because if we remember, Imo had her poster, and it's the only one he did not tear up. So Imo has an interest in Vivi. So which of the two it's going to be? Unknown. And they're making excuses for the Admirals, like they didn't want to use, I guess, their powers because they didn't want to destroy the Holy Land. And Akainu says something very interesting here that has stirred up quite a bit of debate. Don't make excuses for them. And this is pretty much, I think this pretty much is Oda saying, like, no, they lost. They didn't lose the battle, but how would they say? They were pushed back by a person like Sabo. I think Sabo would be first division commander level, but he's nowhere in Yonko level. And then we have all his other crews, this cat guy and the crow guy and the guy wearing the huge guy wearing the skirts, the one that can move land. And they pretty much not only push these back, push Ryukuji and Green Bull and Fujitora, which I put Fujitora on a high pedestal in terms of his power, because he's shown he's strong. And they pushed him back, and not only they succeeded in their goal. Now we don't know how injured any of these four cats are, so it's unclear. But Fujitora was injured, and Green Bull is not showing no injuries, so that's, I don't know, that's that. And it's pretty much saying that the actions of Sabo has spurred revolutionaries, has spurred actions even in the nations that left, that were in the reverie. They revolted. By the time their kings returned, they were already overthrown. Pretty much, that's what he's saying. And he has become more popular than Dragon himself, not in strength, just popularity. So he's reaching Luffy. And even Kizaru says, and above all, has been named the Emperor. So that's gonna promote Sabo even more, because he's brothers with Luffy. Everyone. So I don't know what Akainu is gonna do, because they're pretty much saying that they don't have no manpower to deal with the revolutionaries. He pretty much stated no manpower to deal with the revolutionaries, because they're pretty much still busy with the Shishibukai, especially with Buggy, who recently become a Yonko. So whatever Buggy did was outrageously, I don't know, it was pretty shocking. So in my opinions, this chapter is just a setup chapter. That's what I think. It's setting up the final send-off with Momonosuke, and Momonosuke proving that he could defend his country against the Nabno, no less. It is showing Shanks is finally gonna do something after so long. He's finally do something. It's unclear if he's gonna meet with Luffy, but Shanks has declared his motive and he wants to go for the One Piece. So Shanks is doing is setting up Shanks, and it's setting up the Revolutionary War against the Celestial Dragon, because they said they declared war. It's in a declaration of war. It's a declaration of war. So, which, now that I think about it, which one are we gonna focus on? That's my only intrigue here, because I know we're gonna finish off Wano, so this is gonna get covered. Green Bull. It's all gonna get covered. But after that, where are we going next? Are we going to Shanks, or are we going to the Revolutionary Army? Because either of which, it means Luffy's getting involved. Does that mean Luffy's getting involved with a revolutionary war? Unclear. But in terms of his character, does that fit? Like, I would presume the Celestial Dragons would fall once the One Piece is found, but they could fall prior. But then what happens to the world? What happens to the Navy? That's more interesting. If the Celestial Dragons fall and they get destroyed, where does the Navy stand? Because we know Kobe is a good Navy guy. He believes in like true justice, not like absolute justice like Akainu, or what's Kizaru, lazy justice, and Fujitora was blind justice. So, and Green Bull is prejudice justice, something like that. It's very complicated. So Oda's setting up multiple. He's still on Wano, but at the same time he's also setting up the other stuff. And this is, I guess, what he meant. He also did an interview where he said that he's getting tired of so many people asking him the question when he's gonna finish, and he's constantly embarrassing himself because he's always saying this amount of time. So I guess he said 3 years, but then he rejected, or I don't know what's going on there. But it is true. He keeps saying that he's gonna finish this in 3 years. But look how many years did it take Wano, Dressrosa, and all these arcs to finish. I guess Oda vastly underestimates not his talent, but how much time he wants to spend with something. Without a doubt, Wano Country could have been shortened. Like, you could have removed the whole Otama thing, reduced the scabbards to 4 as he originally wanted, and Wano Country would probably been over by now. We'd probably be selling to another island by now in this chapter. But Oda extended it to High Hell. And interestingly enough, in the sketch things, it was stated that Yamato is a girl, and her original sketch, which I think was her having a face mask, hiding her identity as a woman. So she still wanted to pose as a guy or something like that. I guess that's what I'm getting at. But we all know she's a beautiful whatever. Anyway, thanks for watching. Peace out and have a nice day.